Patrice Radio is here to spice your world and flavor your airwaves with quality content, always. You can access them via our YouTube handle at Patrice Radio Live. Do well to subscribe, like, and comment. Enjoy!
A better Nigeria. Is it a myth or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only drive to be an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Reju.
Good evening and welcome to Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. My name is Agnes and I am in the studio with Joseph.
Hi Agnes.
Okay, and of course Dr. Reju, the Chief Resource Person of the Center for Transformational Leadership, CTL. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Agnes. Thank you, Joseph. Glad to be here.
Alright, so today we're going to be doing something different, a bit different. So we're going to be talking about stages of life and its implications for emerging leaders. Stages of life and its implications for emerging leaders. And if you've been following Answers with Dr. Reju, you should have heard him say this a few times. There was a time he said something like, from childhood to age 25, that stage should be about you, right? Then from 25 down to 50 should be about us. Then from 50 and above should be about them, right? So that's basically so we're going to be doing a little bit of clarifying and going deep into what these whole stages are and then its implications for emerging leaders. So, sir, that's basically what we're talking about today.
Okay.
Yes. So do you mind doing a little bit of I don't know, maybe clarifying what the stages are?
Yeah. Okay. This, the idea came up, at the time I was chatting with a group of, young people, and I remember it was within the context of marriage. Preparing to marry, and as a rule of life, I also, even before then, everyone that comes around me, I tell them, both male, both female, that the first 25 years of your life, except for certain personal reasons you want to marry, you shouldn't even consider it before 25. You don't consider it before 25. You should. Because if you do it before 25, relationship, courtship, or marriage itself will be a distraction. Now that was within the context of marriage, but it has kind of a general kind of application, because I've also discovered that a lot of young people today never have the time for self-development, and sometimes our culture doesn't help that. I grew up in the culture where, I don't know, maybe in a joking manner, from childhood, a young girl, there's an old man that calls her my wife.
Yeah.
That's my wife. So, maybe unknown to us, the female gender, girls grow up believing that they are only somebody when they are somebody's wife. That's what gives them. So, the whole essence of that, I say that life is a trimester. First 25, second 25. And I'm assuming that life expectancy will be about 75, or at best 80. I would love to live longer than that. In fact, if I have my way, I want to live forever, because I love life. So the first 25 years, so this is not something carved in stone. This is not something that is academic. It's not something that is arithmetic. It's just a principle. That is, there must be a time in your life where your focus is self-development, where attention is on yourself. Because if you don't become a person when you marry, there's nobody to give in that marriage.
Yeah.
So the first 25, so it's just like an arbitrary, not, it doesn't have to be. I'm just saying it's, so, and during this time is when to build some habits. Build some habits. Be reading habit. Develop yourself in time, because I've seen a lot of people today, they're in their 40s, they can't speak in public. I was reading the doctoral dissertation of someone yesterday. It was riddled with typographical errors. Read doctoral thesis. It was riddled with typos, grammatical errors. So there are a lot of, I remember I had I have this, he's still my brother-in-law, who went to school late. As at the time the guy was working in a bank, after graduation, he had to go buy a book, Common Mistakes in English. That's some humility.
Yeah.
So you see, there are a lot of things that if you don't learn before 25, and one challenge with current emerging leaders is communication, both written and spoken. They don't know how to write. So those are things you learn at certain, age. Today, they're already teaching phonics to age 2.
Yes. True.
But many don't even give attention to that.
Yeah.
They don't know how to read. They don't know punctuation marks. So the first 25 years, it's you. It's you. You want to build you. You want to love me. You want to accept yourself. Whatever compliment anybody gives you is an addition.
Yeah.
It doesn't shape you. That's when you really build the foundation. And the next one, because I said this idea came up within the context of marriage, the us is that the assumption is you are not married. But that can be now, I'm now offering myself to relate with society.
Yeah.
So it might not be limited to just marriage.
Sure.
And then by the time you are 50, you can't no longer be personal. Right? You are focused now on the next generation. You are giving of yourself. So within the context of marriage, this is the time to now focus on your children. Or maybe grandchildren, like I am now. I don't buy gifts for my kids again. I buy gifts for their kids. And I can't wait for me to just hang out with my grandkids and leave my children, with their husbands and just hang out with my grandkids. I want them to be my best friends. So that's the way it is. That's what I mean by life being a triumph. Is it life can be fun when you live it with intention. Yeah.
Okay, so this whole trimester thing, is it a Nigerian thing, or you can apply anywhere else?
You can apply anywhere else. It's not Nigerian, it's human. It's a human thing.
Okay, but we realize that a lot of people, life happens to people differently in different ages. So what about people that maybe they've worked on themselves like real hard? They started maybe cultivated culture of self-development, all of that, like maybe really early. Do you think they would need to beat that trimester?
Like I said, don't let those numbers limit you. They are just stages. Don't be fixated on the 25, the 50, the 75. Because you might not, that might be, you might be late, you might be early. Right? You might be late, you might be early. I got married at 25. My wife was 23. So does it mean that she missed that? No. So don't be fixated on those numbers, but they are just stages. So if you know that you have not, developed, let's even put it within the context of purpose. This is the reason why I'm living. You know that whatever purpose you discover in life, as much as I don't want to talk about purpose for personal reasons, because everybody talk about purpose, and I don't like, just adding my voice to, to something that's become. So whatever reason you've discovered that this is your reason why you are living, it cannot be accomplished in isolation. You have to work with someone. You have to do it with someone. You are a musician, somebody needs to listen to your music. You need to get some instrumentalists. So most times, we don't know how to engage in relationships, friendships, because we never developed ourselves. And many times we become late in life. We normally joke with, within our circle in those days when we were young, teenagers. We say, it's like a prayer. Guy, the way you are living, I hope you won't use your pension money to send kids to school. So that means we are telling ourselves that you're late. You can be late if you don't take time.
Yeah.
If you don't focus. You see, one thing that really benefited me over the years is that while growing up as a teenager, I was the youngest in my group. I was the youngest in my circle of friends. When I was in high school, many of them were already in the university.
Oh.
So they will always challenge me. I remember one of the most, fulfilling time of my life was when I was writing my A-level exams. All my friends were in the university and they all sent success cards to me. Those days were not days of WhatsApp. They sent success cards to me and all of them had the same message. We're expecting you here next year.
Wow.
And I couldn't wait to get there. So I had that kind of challenge. It was very fulfilling. It was a blessing for me to have, that kind of a thing. With all the others, because for my own generation, we valued education. We valued education. And education then meant you need to go to school. So it's you might be late, but if you are listening right now, then lateness should no longer be an excuse. If you are listening right now, maybe you are 27, you are 28, and you have not given time for self-development intentionally, deliberately, you can actually start where you are. You can actually start with how many books do you read? How, what kind of, resources do you open yourself to? What habits am I, especially we live in a culture here where I interact with a lot of young people. Majority of them are hooked on alcohol.
Yeah.
It's because of wrong choices, because they don't value self-development. You can't be an alcoholic and amount to anything in life. It's not possible. And that's why in every culture where there is high degree of alcoholism, it goes with poverty. The reason people are poor in this city is because of a high culture of alcoholism. Even if you are not poor financially, you'll be poor health-wise. So alcoholism goes with, and it's because people don't value self-development.
Yes.
You can't be an alcoholic and excel in anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
I was discussing with a friend and we talked about that. And, when you look at almost every culture in this part of the world, almost every culture, they value alcohol. In fact, they feed children with alcohol in almost every culture here. So, and that's one of the major setbacks.
Yeah.
And okay, so now, sir, let's talk about the specifics. Like you mentioned one, in personal development, you mentioned public speaking. So what specific things should we focus on? Yeah,
That first semester.
phase, yes.
It's what makes, for example, it depends maybe on gender. If you're a woman, I was sharing with a lady just before this program, and I said the female gender is woven for respect, right? That's where you have to understand your basic gender uniqueness, right?
Yeah.
And most of these things are not written in books. So as a woman, as a young boy, what do I need to learn about myself? How do I develop a male gender? Where am I headed? And it's not that, I'm going to become a father. No. I want to be me, right?
Yeah.
I want to be me. So those kind of things. It's just about a simple thing that's about hygiene. I'm sorry to say this publicly, but you see, there's a terrible pattern in this. People have body odor.
Yeah.
It's very, people have body odor. It's very common in this city. I'm very sorry if this sounds insulting, but that's my experience. People stink. They don't have a bath. There are things you need to learn about hygiene. Right?
Yeah.
I've had the time, the opportunity of braving it to sit somebody down and said, you are developing body odor. And it's very unfair to those who are around you.
Sure.
So those are the kind of things, something that we take for granted. Will you be teaching your wife, right, about body odor? That won't work. Will you be telling your husband? There's a way to do that, but there's a stage in life where those things
Can be avoided.
Can be learned. So we can't, when we say specifics, we can't list them. But we're saying that these are things you can learn by yourself, that it will be difficult for someone else to tell you because it might sound insulting.
Yeah.
The reason I'm able to say this is now that is because I'm not seeing faces.
Yeah.
I can't say that in public. And how many people do I have that kind of a personal relationship with that I can tell them? Because you get to a point when you are over 25, there are few things people can tell you because they believe you are now your own kind of person. You are an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the stage where you learn to ask questions. It's a learning stage. And, in academics, they call it the pedagogical stage, where, it's from the word pediatrics that has to do with, child development.
Yeah.
So that's when to develop how being inquisitive. That's when you can be comfortable to ask a stupid question, because that's where wisdom comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever you see, and, ask questions. There should be a desire to know. Build habits. Learn from good, bad, and ugly. Ask what, why. Those are the kind, especially habits and personal, life codes is the way I like to call it, life codes. Those things have helped me personally. It's not that I learned between the age of 0 and 25. But over the years, because of the way my life has played out and is still playing out, I've discovered that there are some things I've providentially learned. Maybe because I grew up with a mother who though not educated, educated now with my understanding, but didn't go to school, and I have a father who was an educationist. So those kind of things, because I was giving somebody the example. I was such a very stubborn, wayward child. But there's something that kept me in check. There's no amount of waywardness. When it gets to exam period in school, you can't talk me into any other kind of thing apart from reading. Because I can't take a bad result home. Right?
Yeah.
I can't. It doesn't have a place. So that brings me to my sanity. It brings sanity back to me. Because there's somebody I'm accountable to. These are the kind of things that this is when you actually choose a friend.
Yeah.
That stage of life. And it's not just an acquaintance. So those are the specifics for that. And by the time you're getting to 25, you want to, for a girl, you want to be able to, a guy comes up to you. You know exactly who you are. You know who you are looking for. You're looking for someone to compliment you.
Yeah.
So he's not just coming and just talking trash. He's not just coming to eat shawarma. You have life codes. And you can ask the correct questions. You are looking for a partner, somebody that compliments you, somebody that makes up for, what you can't do. You are looking for a team player. But if you are never someone, anyone fits.
Sure.
That's the thing. And then by the time the two of you or in the society, you grow to become like 50, and it's now the things we've learned over the years, right? We want to bequeath it. We want to transfer it. We want to replicate it. See how this plays out, in the lives of maybe children, maybe grandchildren, and things like that. So it's just, you might not have those specifics. We might not be able to list them out in bullet points. But here is about habit. Here is about testing the habit when somebody else comes around that you want to share life with. It might be in the workplace. It might be in a marriage. You want to say it's us. Like I said, within the context in which I shared this then, it was in context of marriage. So it's between husband and wife.
Yeah.
We want to see how the person that we have developed in the last 25 years can be shared with someone else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier that, it's also you becoming better so that you can serve society.
Mm-hmm.
And, today young people are so in a hurry because maybe one or two people told them that they're good, maybe with music or something, and they just want to go all out. And when they read stories, they hear some young people in some places, and there's so much motivational speaking today that will tell people just go do it.
Yeah.
And there's this process of learning, because I was sharing with someone yesterday. I said, a person who have never learned to take orders will never learn to give it. So that's the point where personal development is emphasized.
Yeah.
So what advice will you give young people who are so in a hurry, especially those whose talent are very obvious, because after a while we don't hear about them again because they rushed.
Yeah, life is not something you can hurry through. I mean, when you say you are in a hurry, it's as if you can just do something now and then you are in tomorrow. That's not possible.
Yeah.
That's the reality. You can't say, no, I'm tired of today, now I want to be in tomorrow. You don't have control of that. You see, a lot of people don't know that the way to live life is not to make waves. And that's what people say, especially in a city like Jos, where the spirit that rules, the culture is artistic.
Yes.
Music, this and that and that and that. They want to make waves. People chase fame. You see, the famous never set out to be famous. Many of them don't even know how famous they are. It's the work, the quality of the work they do. Nobody writes a book and at the back of his mind is saying, I want this book to be a bestseller. No. If he does that, he will cut corners.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
The bestsellers, blockbusters in music, is because of focus on developing content, on something of quality, something that's excellent, something that's meaningful, something well produced, something that is done with a lot of commitment, right? That I really want this. And those things are only possible when whatever you are doing is just an expression of who you are. When musicians come to me and they say they want mentoring and all this kind of thing, the first thing I ask them to go and write is their philosophy of life. Who are you? What exactly is, because what you write in a book is your life. What you craft in music is your life.
Yeah.
What you are trying to do in the workplace where you man a desk is your life. So have you developed that life? And life can be developed in a hurry.
Yeah.
You don't have more than 24 hours in a day, right? It's how to use the 24 hours. So, when you want to live in a hurry, you are trying to make waves. You can't make waves. Waves are forces of nature. You can only ride waves that nature throws up. Right? So, if you try to work to be famous, you become a slave to society. And if you become slave to those who are supposed to serve, that's a very unfortunate situation. Especially for musicians, when I hear musicians, we have to craft what they like. You are not a musician. One thing I tell them, if you listen to a musician introducing a particular track and they say that this music is in the store, he's not a musician. That's a beggar. When a musician, true one, wants to introduce a particular piece, he will tell you the story behind it.
Yeah.
That's a musician. He doesn't care if it sells. But the truth is, good music sells. You see, those who focus on developing good product, their advert budget is almost nil. They don't spend money to promote it. Good products sell itself. So you focus on being a good product. There was a time I was actually mentoring a group of artists, this band. And I asked them the question, when do you have time to rehearse? You're jumping from event to event, from concert to concert. When do you have time to actually practice? How were you with guitar 2 years ago? Have you honed that skill? If you put it on a scale of 1 to 10. So is it we don't value self-development? I was talking to this movie producer in Kenya, and I was telling the person that the first thing he said when he was introducing the movie was that he's already been nominated for an award. I said, that's a wrong path to take. That shouldn't be a line to drop to promote yourself. You can't promote yourself. Right? You can't be in a class and you determine, and you tell the teacher by next time I'm going to be in the next class. No, you write the exam. The teacher decides whether you go to the next class. So I said, but that's the way things are. I said, no. Good products sell. if you ride on the fact that you want to get an award, the award company owns you. And the moment they own you, they will determine your content.
Yeah.
You will not be able to say, they will tell you, no, that character can be that way. It should be this way. You lose your message, right? You lose your life. But if you keep focusing on being good, you will always be in demand.
True.
And you can name your price. The moment you offer yourself, they name your price. It works in marriage. You know, I've told girls, you know, and maybe I've said it to you guys off air sometime. A woman, the female gender is not wired to fall in love. Those are things you learn when you're young. The female gender is not wired to fall in love. It's only wired to receive love. It's the male gender that can fall in love. Right?
Yeah.
And when the female gender falls in love, the female gender that receives it brings out the best in that man. Because man is supposed to serve the woman with love. Money don't make a woman happy. Right?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, money can make a woman happy. It's a lie. The woman sometimes doesn't even know what she needs. What she needs is love. Right? And what the man needs is somebody who believes in him. Right? Who feeds his ego. Who tells him you can do it. You can do it. Because a man is naturally, maybe we don't know sometimes. We're kind of very unsure of ourselves.
Yeah.
These are the realities that society don't tell people. But I hope some parents are listening and they can actually, you know, girls should know that boys are scared of them. And the moment you offer yourself, they can only misuse you.
True.
Boys don't like what they get on the cheap. Right? Yeah. Because the story I had is that the way to talk to a girl now is to just ask for her phone number. And once the girl gives you phone number, that's a yes. That is criminal. That is offering yourself so cheap. That's 2 for 1 kobo.
Whoa.
Yeah. The moment the boy is no longer chasing you, you've lost value.
No, I wish they would hear conversations boys do behind them.
Exactly.
You know, those are... Okay.
Thank you, Joseph, for that line. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
I think our time is up.
Of course. And so we've come to the end of today's episode of Answers with Dr. Reju. Hope you learned a lot from stages of life and its implication. So we'll see you next week on another exciting episode. Bye-bye.
This is Partridge Radio.